This is the true story of how John Edward Jones became trapped headfirst in Nutty Putty Cave, and why the world would never forget what happened deep below the surface of Utah. If you found this story powerful or eye-opening, please consider supporting more true stories like this by liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing for more real events that shape the world in ways many never heard about. So let's go to Johns story. It started on November 24, 2009, when 26-year-old John Jones returned to his hometown for Thanksgiving. Surrounded by family, he wanted to relive the outdoor experiences of his childhood. Nutty Putty Cave, a twisting maze of narrow passages southwest of Salt Lake City, seemed like the perfect challenge. John wasn't an expert caver, but he had experience exploring tight spaces and felt confident. He entered the cave with a group of friends and relatives, laughing and exchanging stories as their lights danced across the cold walls of limestone. The trouble began when John decided to explore a tight passage believed to be the route to a well-known section of the cave. With his arms pinned and his chest compressed, he slid forward through the narrow tunnel, but the space started shrinking faster than he expected. Within seconds, he realized the passage didn't open up. It narrowed even more. He tried to stop himself, but gravity pulled him down a slope so tight he could barely draw a full breath. When he attempted to back out, his body only wedged deeper, locking him upside down at an angle no human body is meant to endure. His brother Josh heard his strained voice echoing through the rock and crawled toward him. When Josh reached the passage, he saw John's feet shaking, his voice tight and exhausted. Josh tried pulling him, pushing against the jagged walls, shifting his grip in every possible way. But John was stuck so firmly that even the slightest movement caused him more pain. That moment, deep in the earth, Josh whispered to him to stay calm, and that help was coming. It was the last time John would see a loved one face to face. Rescuers arrived quickly, bringing ropes, pulleys, drills, and every tool they had. The problem was the cave itself. The passage John was stuck in, later called the Eads Push section, was never meant for human movement. It angled downward and twisted sharply, giving rescuers almost no space to stand, pull, or work with equipment. Still, more than 100 trained rescuers rotated in and out through the night, doing everything they could to free him. They attached a rope to his legs, trying to lift him upward. For a moment, it worked. John's body rose a few inches and rescuers felt hope, but the anchor point gave way, snapping back and forcing John even deeper into the rock. The setback crushed morale, and the cave fell silent except for John's weakened breathing. Rescuers continued to talk to him, reassuring him, keeping him awake, telling him that people were fighting for him on the surface. And John, despite the unbearable pressure on his organs and the blood draining into his head, stayed brave. He prayed. He talked about his wife, Emily, who was pregnant with their second child. He asked rescuers to tell his family he loved them. Hours passed. John had now been upside down far longer than the human body can tolerate. Blood pooled in his brain. His heart struggled. The narrow cave walls compressed his chest, making every breath shallow and painful. Rescuers kept working, pushing their own bodies to the limit in the tightest, darkest part of the cave. But nature was merciless. The angle of the tunnel, the hardness of the limestone, and the sheer lack of space created a situation no equipment could fix. As the long night dragged into the next day, John's voice faded. His responses grew slow. Rescuers kept calling his name, hoping he would answer. Then, tragically, he went silent. After more than 28 hours trapped upside down, his body could no longer fight the crushing force of gravity and the pressure inside the cave. John Jones died deep beneath the earth, only feet away from where sunlight could never reach. The rescue team faced a devastating decision. Removing his body would risk more lives. The cave's structure had weakened, and shifting any rock could trap another person. After long discussion with his family, Nutty Putty Cave was permanently sealed, entombing John where he took his last breath. A plaque now sits above the entrance, honoring him as a husband, father, brother, and friend. John Jones' story is more than a tragedy underground. It is a reminder of how quickly life can change in a single moment, how fragile the human body truly is, and how extraordinary the efforts of rescuers were as they risked everything to save a stranger. His legacy lives on not only in the family he left behind, but in the countless people who hear his story and understand the real dangers hidden beneath the surface of the earth.